Hello and welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the School Board Patriot podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Mandarin. Here, I'll be discussing with you the happenings of the school board meetings here in Pasco County, informing you of any actions taking place and everything that happens in between. Today, I had an interview with Charles Touseull. He's running for school board member, District 5. I met Charles Touseull about a year ago when I started going to school board meetings. He is very well informed of everything that's been going on in the school board. He's attended many of our Pasco Watch meetings, really passionate and really wants to protect the children and be a voice for the families in Pasco County. His campaign focus is to foster an environment which respects parental rights, provide district accountability while keeping families informed about curriculum and policies, which we really get into in the interview. So I hope you guys enjoy. Take a listen. All right, guys, I'm here with Chuck Touseull. He's a great candidate running for school board, District 5. And I'm interviewing him today with a couple of questions. Hope you guys get to know him a little better so that you know who to vote for. All right, Chuck. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself so people get to know who you are and where you come from.
Okay, I moved down to Florida in 1990 from Long Island, New York, and I live in Port Richey with my wife, Susie, of 15 years. And we've got two children, and 3 grandchildren. 2 of them are in the Pasco County School District. I am a retired chiropractor where I've had practice up in New York and in Florida. And I'm also a retired teacher where I had a couple of regular positions and some subbing, spanning from grades kindergarten through college. And I'm currently a Pasco guardian ad litem, where I do volunteer work where I'm advocating for children that have been abused, and I advocate for them to the court system. So I'm really, really enjoying that. And really key part of my background is I've got over 20 years experience in Christian children's ministry. And when I went to the reservation of Pine Ridge in 2001, I was doing missionary work out there for about 3 years, where I started a kids church specifically for kids on the reservation. I don't know if many of the audience are aware, but the members of the Native American population for the youth lead the country in suicide and abuse. It is horrendous, the statistics. So I got called out there. It was a really strong challenge between the prejudice that I faced. Never in my life have I faced prejudice, but I did. And it was a challenge that I'm the better for it. So I've been in healthcare since 1978. Before I became a chiropractor, I was also a medical technologist. And in 1986 is when I decided to leave full-time medical technology, working in the laboratory for chiropractic, because I wanted more hands-on work. So that's my basic background. I bring to the that would be the next question on what do I bring to the table. I don't want to jump ahead.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to make note that you do have teaching experience.
That is correct.
And I know your opponent, her slogan is keep a teacher on the school board, but you have teaching experience too. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I absolutely do. And I've seen some chatter regarding my experience level. I may not have 7 years experience as a certified teacher. I am not a certified teacher. But I taught at a college level out in South Dakota in a nursing college. And I've had various jobs from subbing to regular teaching, where I was a long-term sub in math for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math at Day Spring Middle School.
Mhm.
And also I was a teacher in the CTE program at Anclote High School for a semester there. So there's no recommendations that a board member needs to have an education background,
No.
but it is very, very helpful that a school board member knows some of the things that the teachers go through
Yes.
on a daily basis. And I do have that.
Yes.
So I'm very confident in my background as an educator. It was very, very time consuming. I mean, I have so much appreciation what teachers go through. I remember I probably logged in anywhere from 50 to 60 hours a week between grading, answering parents' phone calls, setting up teacher conferences, lesson planning. I was working on the weekends. So I, I may not have the years my opponent has, but I definitely know that I've come to have a great appreciation for what they go through. It's extremely, extremely difficult.
Yes, and I think that's important too. So, can you tell us a little bit why you decided to run?
Well, as you know, and many of your um, constituents, if I use that term, have seen, there is a battleground across the country, and the battleground is the children, the education system. The education system has become the new battleground for the hearts, minds, and souls of our kids. This is not a coincidence. It's a planned attack to destroy our country. And the first place that the evil goes to is the youth, the children. There is a sweeping movement to brainwash our kids through indoctrination, through bringing in ulterior motives. And like I said, this is nothing that is by chance. It is a very well coordinated, planned attack with with a lot of money, which is behind a lot of the socialist organizations. And I started going to the school board meetings because of my desire to help children. I've been in probably half of my life advocating for the care of kids, whether through chiropractic, through their health, whether through teaching and serving in church and with the guardian ad litem. So I have a strong background in serving. And God has given me that servant heart to care for the less fortunate. My heart goes out to two main populations. Number one, children, and number two, the elderly. And I got sick and tired of seeing this happen across the country. So I started going to the school board meetings and started to see, well, if this is happening across the country, maybe it's not happening over in Pasco County. Well, I kind of got my eyes opened up. Come to see that this evil force is alive and well in Pasco County through going to, some school board meetings and seeing the impassioned pleas of one parent after another step up to the microphone, plead their case, whether it be pleading to the school board to hear their cries for help, whether it be a mother trying to protect their kids from being bullied, whether it be another mother trying to stop girls going into the bathroom with her son, whether it be the latest round of not hearing a parent, and that is the school bell schedule being extended.
Yeah.
They had 3 tiers, and they're looking to get a 4th one in to start 10:10 in the morning, and parents just crying out and saying, listen to my voice.
Yep.
And meeting after meeting, and seeing the agenda and seeing the faces of all of the members just sit there stone-faced. Some were going through the motions of listening. Some were bringing up their questions, but for the most part, they had their answers already made up. It
Yeah.
was very obvious. You could see that in their body language. You can see it in their questions. You can see it in their faces.
Yes.
I'm not saying they don't care. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that there is an agenda being pushed, and it's being pushed by the administration. And we've got a school board that doesn't stand its ground, that doesn't voice their personal opinions. You got 5 school board members.
Mhm.
Each one of them has an opinion. Each one of them has a responsibility to do what is right, but they are abdicating their right, and they're letting administration push through their agendas. They've got these agendas. I'm going to use the term woke because I can't think, the only other term would be Marxist and socialist,
Yes.
to bring in these agendas because of the money that's behind them and the grant money that they take.
Yes.
And it's disgusting
It really is.
that they are ignoring the parents' voices. So that's why I decided to run. God put it on my heart, April 7th this year, to run for school board. I did not want to. I was very comfortable having my retirement and living my own life, tending fruit trees and doing DIY projects. But God really has a mission for me, and that is to give the parents a voice. And that's really the platform of our campaign, giving the parents a voice and standing up to this agenda and standing up to do what is right.
That is wonderful. And I love that because I mean, being part of Pasco Watch and attending those school board meetings every month this past year, I've seen that as well. I've voiced my concerns many, many times. And through every single school board meeting that I've attended to, only 2 times have a school board member actually reached out to me. And it was only one, the same person. What does that show people? It showed me that they don't care, because if I was up there and I saw a parent concerned, I would reach out to them, pick their brain a little bit. What do you think? I don't go there for fun,
I had called up one of the board members, and I wanted to talk about a certain issue. And I got onto the fact of what you had just brought up,
Mhm.
communication between the board members and the public.
Yes.
And I was flat out told by this board member that they were instructed by their attorney not to respond back to parents and emails because the words can get all twisted up.
Wow.
Um,
That explains a lot.
It also falls right in line with another meeting that I had. Amazingly, it was with my opponent. I was doing long-term math subbing at Dayspring Middle School. And this was about 3 years ago. It's kind of the time when that Chasco coach, Rob Appadesano, was going through the issues of having to accompany I think it was a transgender student into the locker room, he felt totally uncomfortable with that. And that's around the time that the school came out with their gender support plan. And I was concerned about that happening at Dayspring. So I pulled Mrs. Harding to the side and I asked her opinion. It was right as she had just given a message during assembly to the students. They were being dismissed, students are passing by. And it was a hallway conversation. And I just wanted to get her take on it. She's a school board member. She's a Dayspring alumnus. She didn't tell me anything regarding whether or not she was in favor of that or not. I asked her, I says, what is your opinion about things like boys using girls' restrooms and locker rooms and vice versa at Dayspring? And her reply was, she needs to wait and see what the attorneys say.
Oh, wow.
That kind of goes well, and it's basically in lockstep from what I hear a lot of parents talk about, that the attorney, Mr. Alfonso, and his wife, they hold a lot of control over the board. their biggest mantra was, we can't do anything that would jeopardize liability.
Mhm.
They were deathly afraid of lawsuits.
Mm.
So they basically were telling, and I can't say this officially,
Mhm.
but I can just relate the conversation that I had with Mrs. Harding, that she had to wait until what the attorneys said. Those were her words.
That's not the first time I heard that, but with the superintendent, someone had told me that the superintendent won't speak on things unless he has a conversation with him first. So that's the second time I've heard that. So it doesn't surprise me.
I mean, there was no pending lawsuit. It was when that case with the coach was just starting up. And that's the reply I got. It wasn't a reply of, I'm against that period of
Hmm.
happening. It is out of line for that to happen. There, it was no, we're looking to make some accommodations for both sides.
Hmm.
Um, it was just disingenuous.
Yeah, that's not good.
Disingenuous.
All right.
Uh,
Well, that's hard. That's horrible to hear, but I would like to know if I'm going to say when you make the board to
yes, thank you.
figure to figure out why that is. I just don't understand that that concept that you I don't like that you can't speak to the school board members without them, discussing it with a lawyer. That makes it seem so I don't know, like I want to say
Yeah,
political, but
I know we
that's
have this. I'm sorry.
oh no, you could go ahead.
I know we have the sunshine law
Yes,
where we're not to speak with multiple members of the school board,
that's true.
but our responsibility as a school board member is to create
Yes.
policy to drive day-to-day operations. And I fully get that we are not as a school, I am not as a school board member responsible for day-to-day operations. That's the responsibility of the superintendent. I fully get that.
Hmm.
But when Mr. Browning ditched the 72-page gender support plan in favor of his one-page support plan, he basically took all of the injustices, may I
Hmm.
say,
Hmm.
from that plan that uh, Mrs. Dean, the psychologist, put together,
Hmm.
and he put it into a one-page plan. So basically, he honed down 72 pages of injustices into a big one-page injustice.
Hmm.
Um, and he did that without board approval.
Oh.
It's not labeled as a policy. It's not really even labeled as a procedure, because if you go on Board Doc's website, and I've been in contact with the division head of psychology, and I was able to get the one-page document through calling a number of different people
Hmm.
and getting it through him. So I had to jump through a few hoops. It's not on the website. And I asked him that. I
Hmm.
said, you've got a document here that sounds, according to Mr. Browning, that it's supposed to be a procedure,
Hmm.
but it's not in the procedures section. It's not a policy section. And his answer was that this is an internal memo given to the staff to use as guidance.
Hmm.
My next question, which kind of shocked me, but in a way it didn't. I asked him, what about parent involvement?
Hmm.
It doesn't look like there is any.
Hmm.
And he said, no, there isn't. So it's an internal memo given to the staff without any parental input.
Wow.
And that is totally irreprehensible. You're
Hmm.
keeping this from the parents. The parents are the ones that are responsible for the care of the children.
Yes.
But this movement behind this indoctrination is looking to destroy the family unit,
Yes,
and
it is.
do that by removing the parents' rights.
Hmm.
They hide things, they keep things from them, and I haven't even gotten into the Baker Act abuses.
Oh, yes.
And it continues to go on and on. It disturbs me.
Mhm.
And Michelle, plain and simple, you asked me what caused me to run, and besides my Lord basically saying to go and run, I look at this as my 1776 moment. This
Mhm.
country is at a crossroads,
Mhm.
a serious crossroads. I'm 66 years old, and I have never seen the school boards out of control. We have overreach to the max where they think that they know best with the kids. They are instituting their own culture. They're instituting their own mores of how to behave in society, which is fully embedded in the social emotional learning, quote
Yes.
unquote, curriculum. It's not even curriculum. Uh, between the indoctrination of the comprehensive sex ed and these books, these textbooks that are basically pornography books, it's all to promote the agenda of the people that give money to the school boards.
Yep.
That's what it revolves around.
So
Uh,
I'm sorry. I'm glad that you brought up this memo that Kurt Browning had told you about, because that's the thing. The parents, and I assume that some of the school board members don't understand that these things that are going on around the country are secretive. They're hidden, just like this memo, hidden from the parents, just like that application for the equity board that he created. It was secret. Nobody knew about it. And instead of answering my questions about it, he deleted it. He's really good at that. And I really want change for the school board, because this has to stop.
yeah. Um, if I was on the school board when that one-page internal memo was approved, I would have objected, and I would have looked to have sponsored and created a policy.
Mm-hmm.
As a board member,
Mm-hmm.
that's our responsibility, is to
Mm-hmm.
create policy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would have done. I would have looked to have created a policy that would bring the parents in on this,
Mm-hmm.
not hide it,
Mm-hmm.
have it be posted to the website. What is there to hide? I had to call and talk to 4 different people, excuse me, 1, 2, 3, 3 different people to get this internal memo. Unacceptable.
Yeah,
Totally unacceptable.
I'm sure it's on purpose. But
Of course it is.
speaking on what you would do, that brings me to my next question. What do you bring? What can you bring to the table when you get onto the school board?
What I bring to the school board is half of my life
Mm-hmm.
being involved in compassionate care of children. Between being a chiropractor, between seeing children as patients, taking care of their health, between over 20 years of being in Christian ministry, having my own Native American ministry
Mm-hmm.
for 3 years, being a Pasco County guardian ad litem, being teaching
Yes.
school. I've got more than half of a life in service to children,
Mm-hmm.
because they're one of the most vulnerable parts of our society, them and the elderly.
Mm-hmm.
I bring my caring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
I bring my knowledge of what a teacher goes through on a daily basis, what they deal with. And I bring financial responsibility from my chiropractic background. I owned a business.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot run a business, just like you cannot run a household, if you are in the red, you're spending more than what you take in. You've got to look at expenses, and you need to do it in a responsible way. The people of Pasco need a voice
Mm-hmm.
for them.
Mm-hmm.
When things are not running right, when we have a bloated budget with a budget that needs 5%, total 5% budget. And I get these statistics through Jim Stanley. I've checked Mr. Stanley out. I know his background. He's got an economics background. He's a wonderful source of financial information having to do with the school board.
Yes.
So I get these figures from him. He is dead on when he talks about if we can't get 5% of a budget, which is what this latest tax referendum is about,
Yes.
there's something seriously wrong. We've
Yep.
got administrative costs in the last 10 years that have gone up over 36%, while the total student population has only gone up 8%. We have schools that are being underutilized, teachers that are going away on seminars. We spend, I think, 2.5% of total operating budget on teacher seminars for them to go away and learn new methodology, which is typically backed up by woke companies. What I bring to the table is common sense.
Yes,
I
that's
bring to the
important.
table a desire to want to speak up for those that can't speak up, the children, and to give a voice to the families, to do what is right. That's what I bring to the table, common sense.
That's important too. Because I want to say your opponent's very, kind of, she has a very good heart too. But when it comes to these things that are happening, behind closed doors, these hidden things like these memos and, these secret groups that are meeting to make that equity. We need someone on there that actually knows what to look for when it comes to these woke ideologies. And I think that's very important. So I would really, I'll be really excited when you make the school board, because
Thank you very much,
we
Michelle.
need somebody like that.
Thank you. And you talk about the backdoor politics, and I'll just quickly add this, along the racially inclusive curriculum that Pasco School Board has partnered with the company TNTP, who is basically backed up from a liberal foundation that is pumping the grant money.
Mhm.
Their responsibility, TNTP's responsibility, is to assess the curriculum
Yes.
at Pasco County Schools to make sure that it is racially inclusive, and whatever that means. From what I've seen,
Mhm.
what it means is that we tend to look at whites as the problem,
Mhm.
and we look to drive a wedge between the whites, the blacks, the Hispanics, and the Asians. And my opponent had initially, when the TNTP grant was brought up, almost $600,000 grant, she was the lone vote of no,
Mhm.
and looking to receive a workshop on getting further questions answered.
Yes.
Then after the workshop was done, her answer got turned into a yes.
Yes.
Even though many other parents still complained, they still sent her emails, she still went along with what the rest of the board did. And I'm not looking to be a rubber stamp for anybody. I am one person. I've got one voice, but through forming a coalition, hopefully, maybe also replacing 60% of the board by this August, which we have the potential to do,
Yes.
we can have a majority to do what is right for the people of Pasco, and they deserve it.
Yes, they do. And I'm glad you said that too, because I've and I hope to have an interview with her as well, but your opponent. One of her, what is it? She had a Q&A that I went to, and I had asked her, like, if she actually stated that the school board members have basically no power over the superintendent. But I don't believe that's true. They have the right to vote yes or no. I hate to say this, but I would have more respect for her if she voted no on these things that he's trying to pass forward. There, for instance, you mentioned the bell times that changed. There were bus drivers, teachers, parents that came forward. They said, do not do this. This is going to create lots of problems for lots of people. Please don't vote for this. And she voted yes. And looking past this past school year, those parents and bus drivers and teachers that came forward were right. There were a lot of bus drivers that quit. There were a lot of teachers that quit. You can't vote yes for something you can see can cause such a problem. So I would have more respect for some school board member if they voted no on these crazy policies and crazy procedures that the superintendent likes to pass.
I don't know where she gets that idea that, and I'm sorry, you had said that the superintendent is over the school board. That's what she said?
She stated that basically, in short, that the superintendent is the end all be all when it comes to policies and basically what it sounded to me is that the school board members are just sitting ducks.
Well, last I checked, according to the organizational chart, the school board is above the supervisor.
Yeah.
And again, if I may reiterate, and Mrs. Harding has even said this on her tours, speaking tours at Republican clubs, where she would read the job description for the school board member, and even out of her mouth, the school board members create policy.
Mm-hmm.
It is up to the superintendent to implement that policy for the day-to-day, daily operations of the school. So along the lines of the frustration that you had mentioned, and specifically the school bell, it was after a meeting one night, school board meeting, and I was talking with an school resource officer, and his wife is a bus driver. And he was relating to me that this situation with the bus drivers is going to get worse. He said many have quit because of the extended bell times starting school at 10:10. He said if they put in another tier, more are going to quit. He said the morale is down the drain, and salary's not everything
No.
in a job. But in this job, we're talking $13 an hour
Mm-hmm.
to school bus drivers, where charter schools, there's a charter school in Pasco that pays their bus drivers $19 an hour.
Oh, wow.
They get a lot more in Pinellas and Hillsborough.
Mm-hmm.
He also told me about a problem that Pasco has created, where they will bring bus drivers aboard. They'll train them.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get CDL licenses, and then they'll go off and quit once they get the CDL license.
Oh.
What I want to see done, and what I would put into place as a policy, is that if you are a prospective bus driver and you are going through getting your CDL license through Pasco schools, you must sign a 1-year contract to agree to serve as a school bus driver. If you break that contract, you will have to pay back X amount of dollars, whatever that gets settled on, to Pasco County Schools. I am not going to stand by and see these people take advantage of the taxpayers by getting their license and then just taking off.
Wow.
The injustice is unbelievable.
I can't believe that. I had no idea that was a thing. And that's an excellent idea. So
the other thing really quickly, since we're on buses, is that when I was in the meetings and the bell schedules were being discussed, not once did I hear anybody even ask, even from the transportation chairperson, from administration, on the reasons for people leaving the job.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a business background, not only private business, but I was also in the corporate world. And one of the things that the corporate world has is and I also instituted it also, when I have an employee that's leaving, I want to conduct an exit interview. I want to hear what their reasons are for leaving. It may be just pay. It may be other things. They never did that. So they went ahead and as far as I'm concerned, they put a Band-Aid on a bleeding artery, which is adjusting the bell schedule, instead of looking at the real problem. Not only is the pay a problem, but also not having a monitor on the bus with the bus driver. I've never been a school bus driver, but I could imagine trying to drive a bus safely and then having to deal with kids in the back of me screaming and being out of control.
Yes.
They need a monitor to help keep order.
Yep. That's an excellent idea. And you're right about it being a Band-Aid on a bleeding artery. It's it it's horrible that what they were going through, and I hope that that's fixed by next year, because the transportation is very important, that it's what takes the kids to school where they need to be.
And one of the biggest cries I heard from parents during that time was that, I've got a job. I'm dropping my kids off. I've got after school that I'm paying for, after school care. So it interfered with a lot of after school care that the parents had lined up. And they've got a set work schedule. And now their whole life was being turned upside down.
Yep. And all because of that one,
Unacceptable.
it's unacceptable. So you did touch on a little bit on the referendum, because it is a big topic this year. What are your thoughts on it, and what happens if it doesn't go through? Like, what if it ends up not being voted on? Where would you like cut on the school budget, and what would you consider off limits for budget cuts?
First of all, if I was on the school board, I would have voted no for it.
Yes.
I would have voted no and said not one penny of taxes will be increased until we find out where we can cut in the budget the money to make up for that. We have a bloated budget. The administrative expenses are getting totally out of hand. We need to have an independent line by line audit, independent, away from state, away from local, to find out where we can best spend the money. It's not a factor of, is all of the money accounted for from the state? It's a fact of justifying the expenses. And when you have 2.5% of the operating budget, I believe it's $23 million being spent on teaching excursions, going to New Orleans for the latest woke teaching methods, being put on by these liberal organizations, that and schools. Another thing that Mr. Stanley has brought up that I really never considered is we've got quite a few schools that are not being utilized. From what I understand, Starkey Ranch is having a multi-million-dollar renovation now, and I think it's just a year old. And I'm wondering, what's up with that? What's the population been at that school? But I'm looking at some of the population numbers, and I see a lot of the elementary school ages have gone down in the last 10 years.
Yep.
So we've got a lot of schools. Lakuchi School is a perfect example. We've got less than 50% of occupancy, and it's surrounded by other elementary schools that are even below 60% occupancy. So these are schools that could be closed. We need to bring on some consultant. From what I understand, Hillsborough has brought on a consultant to look at their underutilized schools to see where we could save money, pool that money, and look to pay our teachers what they're worth. We keep saying that our teachers are starving as far as pay schedule. A lot of them have to work second jobs. I've got a friend who took a $10,000 pay cut coming from Hernando into Pasco. We've got teachers in Pasco, when new teachers come on board, the new teachers are making just around the same money as teachers that have a number of years service serving Pasco. So we need to, if we're going to say that teachers are important, and I'm not talking teachers, we're talking employees across the board at Pasco. The salaries have not kept up with inflation. This is a problem that's been going on for many years. This is something that we've just had the can get kicked down the road one year after another. But if we're saying that teachers and other workers are important,
Mhm.
then we need to budget for them first and foremost and
Mhm.
not leave it to the end and see what monies we have left over and see if we can then give them a raise. That's totally wrong.
Mhm.
And the first spot is underutilized schools and overbloated administration costs. They're 5% we can find.
Yep.
If we can't, something's wrong.
Absolutely. Um, I guess we already you kind of already went over.
Oh, excuse me, you said, I didn't answer the other part.
Oh,
What
yes.
what expenses is off limits?
Yes.
Um, to be honest, I would say that there is no expense that is off limits,
Hmm.
really. Wherever there is over bloatedness of the budget,
Mhm.
where the trends do not match the population of the students.
Mhm.
So I would say that there is really nothing that can't be looked at.
That's true. But you're speaking on like a business standpoint, right? Um,
Correct.
but I think I feel more like the question I feels geared towards like any programs that wouldn't be cut. For instance, I know there's some states in the past that have cut music programs and like the arts program. I feel like that's very important. So
That's correct. Yes, you're right. And that I've heard the voice from, there was one lady, she is an arts teacher, and she was complaining about that exact same problem, the same issue, is that the arts music is being cut. So um, I need to modify my answer and say, I'm not looking to cut those kind of programs at all. No, those are programs that are needed by the children and by their families. Uh, we need to keep up with other counties. So I would definitely look to keep them without a doubt.
all right. All right. So I think we already touched on. I was going to ask, what do you believe is the role of a school board member? But I think we kind of touched on that with the whole talking about your opponent Megan Harding speaking on what the role of a school board member is. So uh, that's all I had for today. Is there anything that you want to say and put out there?
I am looking to be common sense to a world that seems to have gone upside down.
Yes.
We have the things that I'm seeing. Florida Citizens Alliance and Pioneer Institute did a survey and found that 57% of the textbooks used in Pasco County schools are deemed pornographic.
Uh,
And I've seen some of these books. Uh, Anybody caught possession with them would be arrested on a third-degree felony. Um, Children as young as 5 years old looking to be indoctrinated into an alternative lifestyle. You know, I am not against any alternative lifestyle. As it, if the parents want to encourage that with their children, it should be done at home.
mm-hmm,
It shouldn't be done at school.
mm-hmm,
If they want to raise them up along those lines, that's their responsibility. I believe that the school should be a safe place
mm-hmm,
for all kids.
mm-hmm,
I don't believe that one segment of the population should be pointed out and be given special treatment.
mm-hmm,
And a parent drops their children off at school, when they see them off at the bus stop, they should be coming home safe to them at the end of the day. So there should be not, if we need to have special places that are safe in the school, something is terribly wrong.
exactly.
And that brings me to another point: school safety. We have seen over the years rampant shootings,
Mm-hmm,
and I'm not going to go into the reasons
mm-hmm,
because I believe a lot of the reasons are spiritual.
mm-hmm,
But what we need to do is we need to do common sense measures. We need to have closed exit doors, not have soft targets.
Mhm.
One entrance. We need to have cameras located in the hallways and in the classrooms to be monitored by the police department.
Mhm.
We need to have, there is a deterrent system that I believe it's on the east coast of Florida. I think it's in Broward County that
Mhm.
has steam cannons coming down from the ceiling. If they see an intruder, that the control room will release the steam coming down from overhead.
Wow.
And the other thing is, and this may be unpopular, but this is in my heart. We need to have teachers who want to be thoroughly trained by law enforcement to carry weapons. If a perpetrator knew that there was the possibility of them going into a school where a teacher carried a gun,
Mhm.
they would think twice.
Mhm.
Most of these schools, they're all being targeted in any other place because they're called soft targets, because
Mhm.
for one reason or another, and it's usually for politics, that they have not allowed people to carry. I carry, and I'll go, whether it be into up to a movie theater, and I'll see it on the door. You're not allowed to bring in a weapon. And
Mhm.
people that are evil know that, and
Yep.
that's what they're going to do.
Yep.
You're not going to have um, concealed weapon permit holders
Yep.
committing mass murders. It's
Nope.
not going to happen.
Mhm.
People who are criminals don't apply for gun permits. So I would like to see teachers carry, because the average incident is 10 seconds.
Mhm.
The average incident, 10 seconds, and
Right.
it's over.
Yep.
For an SRO on the other side of the school to come and respond, it'll be too late.
Yes.
You'll have dead bodies. So I am all in favor of that. I'm all in favor of making the schools safe, but I'm all in favor of bringing common sense, no indoctrination. If parents want to bring up their kids in a certain way, they can. Schools should not be entitled to raise them up to think a culturally different way,
Mhm.
to bring into them values. Their job is to teach the academics,
Yep.
the reading, the writing, the arithmetic, life skills, taking care of a checkbook, shopping, a bank account, things that they're going to need in real everyday life. But they do not have the responsibility of teaching values to kids. That should be left to the parents.
Yes.
I am running on giving the parents of Pasco County a voice. Please come to my website, votedrt.com. That's votedrt.com. Look at the rest of my platform, but I'm all about stopping the indoctrination, making the district accountable, and keeping the parents informed and having transparent parents policies, giving the families a voice, drT.com. And thank you so much,
No
Michelle.
problem. I will put
you.
the link for your website in my description so people can click on it so they don't have to, type and spell it out. Like it's click away. So
Thank you very much.
thank you so much for the interview or letting me interview you. And everybody, is it August 23rd, correct?
Oh, I'm sorry, August 23rd is
Yes.
the voting. That is the primary date, August 23rd. And the winner of that election between myself and Mrs. Harding, it will be the winner. And I look to be the winner and sitting on the school board. So please go to votedrt.com, August 23rd. Please get out, register. If not registered, please vote. Everybody in Pasco County is eligible to vote. Even though I'm running for District 5,
Mhm.
everybody in Pasco will vote.
Yes.
August 23rd. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day, Chuck.
You too.
Bye.
Bless you.
Bye.
Thank you.